And we are live here at the NFT Expo Verse. We've really been just having a great time. Just interviewed the Parlor CEO George, who's about to get on stage. And of course, we saw our good friend Michael Terpin here. Michael and I are seeing each other all over the world. It doesn't really matter what continent even that it's on. I feel like we're always seeing each other. So tell me a little bit, Michael, about what brought you here to the NFT Expo Verse.
Well, I've spent many years in Los Angeles before I moved to Puerto Rico, and in Las Vegas before that. So I'm always looking for an excuse to come back to Los Angeles and see old friends and clients. And so thought I'd support a first-year show. They asked me to speak, and had a really good panel with a full house yesterday talking about investing in NFTs.
There you go,
and blockchain.
And blockchain. And I felt the same way. They had a good organizational team. That's something it goes from the top down. So when you have a team like that, I thought they would pull off something good. We are in the bear market, but they pulled off a great event, and I wanted to support them as well. So I know you've been doing a lot of your events, the Coin Agenda event, of course. The Bit Angels is his brand. You also had a new NFT type of event that you've been throwing. How have things been going for you, and when is your next one?
So they've been going great. The bear market is usually a little bit different than the bull market. You have slightly smaller crowds, but you have the builders, right? And people have told me sometimes that the best shows they go to are the Coin Agendas during the bear markets, because they don't have to go and fight with 60 other startups who are looking for funding. Right. And yet the funders are still there. And so our next Coin Agenda will be our ninth annual Coin Agenda. Global is October 21st to 23rd in Las Vegas.
Nice.
We always run, concurrent to other events going on that week, and for the last few years, that's included Money 2020. I think the first year we were actually before Money 2020 started, and so we were actually the same week as Inside Bitcoins, which is no longer around. And a few other shows have come and gone, but we're still here, 9 years running strong, and then. We have our biggest show of the year, the first week of December, which is Coin Agenda Caribbean, which is the flagship of Puerto Rico Blockchain Week. So it'll be our 6th year with Coin Agenda in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the 3rd year of having a Puerto Rico Blockchain Week, which great way to come down, check out Puerto Rico. There's 4 different conferences all go on the same week, and it's right after Art Basel in Miami. So. It's a good excuse to make one more hop into the Caribbean.
One more hop further or into the Caribbean, as they say. I'll tell you, we had a great time last year there in Puerto Rico. It was a great event. There was a lot of people there. The Coin Agenda event, I think I moderated a banking panel. There were some banks that are coming out of Puerto Rico. Really interesting stuff, which I guess we can talk a little bit about. You probably get asked about it quite a bit. I know you've been involved as well in some of this stuff being developed out of Bermuda. But really, I feel like you and, of course, Brock Pierce have been early on the forefront of making Puerto Rico what it is today for crypto investors and people in the space. So if you could talk a little bit about that. And then I heard also something about it's grandfathered in and maybe only available for a year or two longer.
That's not true.
That's not true?
That's not true. No, they change the rules a little bit every year. 2019 was the last year that they had, probably what many people consider to be the best terms. But the terms are still pretty good if you're comparing them to California or New York. I mean, it's still 0 capital gains to Puerto Rico and 0 to the IRS. And that's for short term as well as long term. So in California, for example, short term capital gains would be about 39%. They're talking about raising that for the feds, and 13.3%, I believe it is. They're talking about raising that for California. So all of a sudden, over half of your capital gains go to the government. And if you're a bona fide resident of Puerto Rico, it's 0.
It's 0. It's crazy, guys. It's really the only hack. There's some other ways, obviously, through different corporations, offshore, stuff like that. But as far as being like your own private citizen, if you're not doing something like that, it is the only hack I know of for a U.S. citizen.
U.S. Citizens and residents are taxable on their worldwide income. It doesn't matter where you live. You can't move to Dubai or Monaco and say, I'm not paying U.S. tax anymore.
Right.
Unless you renounce your citizenship, and that's very expensive.
Very expensive. We saw it was very famous. We've been around long, like Mr. Terpin and I, back when Roger Ver paid $300 and something thousand, right? And he tweeted that this is what it cost him, and that didn't go over too well, I don't feel like, but yeah.
Well, he went for political reasons, as he likes to say, and that was when Bitcoin was a much lower price.
Yeah.
So, and he, has a hard time getting back in the U.S.
He has a hard time.
Yeah.
I know a few years ago his father was sick, and that was another mess. So, but we each make our own way. I do wish
he's enjoying life in St. Bart's.
I think he's doing
and
very
still
well.
Doing great stuff in St. Kitts, St. Bart's, Tokyo. So he's definitely Roger's a longtime friend, and we've worked on many projects. And
agreed.
So he's a citizen of the world.
He is a citizen of the world, and we're all making our way. Have been making our way in the blockchain space. It's really been a revolution. I talk about it all the time. Now we see this revolution in the NFT space. I feel like we've seen it now with the artists now being able to be paid and collect royalties and everything else, and now it's going into movies and music and everything else. How do you see, and are you excited about the development of the NFT space?
Yeah, I've been working in the NFT space going all the way back to 2014 when I was working with Counterparty, which launched Rare Peppies. But it's been very slow moving until really 2019. You started all of a sudden seeing, CryptoPunks literally have been given away, and all of a sudden they're selling for hundreds and then thousands of dollars a piece. And I thought a real turning point was the NFT NYC conference at the start of 2020. I spoke there. It was only 600 people. And it was still like at the very end of a bad crypto winter. You ended up having, the one source of non-doom and gloom. Everybody was like bullish and building things and getting funded. And it was like, I started doubling down on that space and, really, been kind of riding it all the way up from, I invested in some companies. We had a Bid Angels New York that week, and there were 5 companies that were exhibiting at NFT NYC that then were pitching in our event. And you could have gone to that room and it was about 75 people there. I invested in Upland, which was in its seed round, Bridge to its A. It's now $1 billion valuation. It was 20 million back then.
Congratulations, man.
So there was, and Splinterlands was there, and they're now a $3 billion valuation. So
crazy.
In bear markets, it's where you find these great deals when they're still in the crib and they're having to work extra hard to find support.
It's so true. We had one of our events during the bear market, and I feel like everybody that was there is still in the space. If Bitcoin's goes from 20,000 to 3,500 or whatever it is, and you're still there, you're pretty much a believer.
The tourists leave in the bear markets.
Yes. Then they come back.
But
they buy high again.
I was just say I don't think NFTs have actually seen a bear market since they've started shooting up. When people say, "Oh, it's a bear market because Bored Apes are only going for 150,000 and not $500,000," it's not exactly a bear market for something that was a couple $100 a year ago.
Right.
So I think that the future of NFTs goes way beyond, JPEGs and art, and it goes way beyond music and film. It goes way beyond entertainment. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg for enterprise NFTs. There's a number of things when you see that, the SEC, which we thought would be much more friendly under Gensler because he taught a blockchain class at MIT, has actually doubled down on a lot of the, earlier, FUD that happened under his predecessor. And, just this past week with him going after Coinbase for allegedly listing securities without saying which ones they were.
Right.
It's this, really horrific practice of enforcement, by just going after people. Enforcement prosecution, they call it. And instead of saying what the rules are. I mean, everybody in the industry wants to know what the rules are so we can follow them.
Right.
At least in NFTs, we do know what the rules are more or less because, many government agencies have said if it's not a fungible virtual currency and it's just a digital collectible, it doesn't apply to the same money laundering and other things. Now, we'll see if they keep it there and say, well, no, if it's over a certain amount, if it's over blah, 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 they may start nipping away at the non-security, non-money aspect of it. But that's a slippery slope, because then you would have to start regulating, all sorts of collectibles.
All sorts of collectibles. So I was just out at a Comic-Con. I went last week. It was my first time there. My wife and I had staffed a bunch of different events over the years, like, trade show models and stuff like that. So I was really excited to go. I knew it was a fun conference. But I felt like the space was really going to be moving into the metaverse and NFTs and everything, and I was absolutely correct. But to your point, absolutely. So now you're going to they're going to put these comics in the NFTs. You're going to buy the comic. It's going to be an NFT now. And what, you're going to change that? People aren't going to be able to pay on a credit card for that. They're not going to be able to on a Venmo. So it is pretty crazy. I won't say I've been surprised at how things have unrolled with the new guy. I think a lot of times people get in there and then they get told, really how things are gonna roll. It's not an easy world that we live in. So I think, guys, the Puerto Rican Blockchain Week is going to be really cool again. I recommend that. We'll obviously, I think I'll probably be at Art. Are you going to go to Art Basel?
Yes.
Probably? Yeah. Well, he has a nice place there as well. So we'll be at Art Basel and then Puerto Rican Blockchain Week. Really cool. What's social media website? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Michael Terpin, Terpin, on Twitter. I'm that on Instagram, on Telegram, on pretty much all the social media, LinkedIn.
The man, Michael Terpin. Thanks so much for coming on. See you soon.